Welcome to our deep dive, and today we're tackling the book of Genesis.
The very first book of the Bible.
Exactly. It's chock full of these stories and ideas that have been huge for Western culture.
For centuries.
Absolutely centuries. Genesis covers so much ground, though.
It really does.
Our goal today is to give you a good foundation.
Especially if you're new to the Bible.
Exactly. We'll hit the big themes and key characters and make these ancient stories feel relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. Genesis is truly foundational. I mean, you'll find its influence all over.
Western literature.
Art.
Even those everyday cultural references we just sort of
take for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. Genesis starts
with not one,
but two creation stories. I mean, two different perspectives right off the bat.
It's pretty cool.
It's so cool. The first one gives us this sweeping panoramic view of God creating the universe.
In 6 days.
Light, darkness, sky, earth, sea, all the creatures that inhabit them.
The whole shebang.
And it culminates with God resting on that seventh day.
Establishing the idea of the Sabbath.
Right, a day of rest, which is a theme that comes up again and again.
Throughout the whole Bible.
What I find fascinating is how those two creation accounts, while they're distinct,
in their style and focus,
underscore
those same fundamental truths.
They establish God as the creator and humanity's special place in all of this.
Within creation.
And that second creation story zooms in on Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Paradise. But there's one rule.
Don't eat from the tree.
The tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Of course they can't resist.
Oh, they can't resist the temptation, right?
That story is so powerful, though, because it speaks to that universal human desire.
That thirst for knowledge, the curiosity.
To understand the world around us.
But it also explores the weight of our choices.
And their consequences.
Totally. Adam and Eve's disobedience brings in these ideas of shame, guilt, and the struggle of work.
Which are still so relevant.
Thousands of years later.
Absolutely.
And then the plot thickens even more of the story of Cain and Abel.
Oh, yeah, those two brothers.
They have a little sibling rivalry going on.
To put it mildly.
Cain, the farmer, gets jealous of Abel, the shepherd.
And things escalate.
It's the first murder in human history, and it forces us to confront that dark side.
Of human nature.
The destructive power of jealousy and rage.
These early stories are so dramatic.
They are.
But they really delve into these huge themes of sin, the consequences of our actions.
And God's justice.
Yeah, and then we have Noah's Ark, where God decides to flood the entire world.
The entire world, because of humanity's wickedness.
Talk about consequences.
But even in this act of judgment, we see God's mercy.
He spares Noah.
And his family.
Offering them a chance for a new beginning.
And makes a covenant a solemn promise to never again destroy the world by a flood.
Symbolized by the rainbow.
It's a reminder that even when things seem hopeless,
even in those darkest moments,
there's always that glimmer of hope.
A chance for renewal.
And that theme of hope continues in the story of the Tower of Babel humanity, united by this one language.
Decides to build a tower.
That reaches all the way to heaven.
Ambition on a grand scale.
That desire to achieve great things. To push the boundaries of what's possible.
Still resonates with us today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the story of the Tower of Babel is kind of a cautionary tale.
About the dangers of pride.
And overreaching.
God sees their arrogance and confuses their languages, scattering them across the earth.
It's a reminder that our ambitions,
however ambitious,
should be guided by humility.
And a sense of purpose.
That aligns with something greater.
Than ourselves.
Than just us.
So we've got creation, sin, consequences, hope, ambition, and then Genesis kind of takes a turn. We meet the patriarchs. Starting with Abraham, and this is where we get the idea of a covenant.
A special agreement between God and Abraham.
This is huge.
This is pivotal.
It
lays the foundation for the concept of a chosen people and a promised land.
And Abraham's life is full of incredible stories.
Oh, it is.
He's promised a son, Isaac, even though he and his wife, Sarah,
are way past
childbearing age.
Talk about a test of faith.
Then there's the near sacrifice of Isaac.
An intense story.
Incredibly intense and challenging, and it really makes you think about the nature of obedience.
And the mysterious ways of God.
And we can't forget Abraham's role in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Which explores themes of judgment.
And righteous.
All these stories, while dramatic and engaging on a narrative level.
They point back to these deeper themes.
Faith, obedience.
Trusting in God's plan, even when it
seems impossible.
Or beyond our understanding.
Right.
And then we move on to Isaac and Rebekah.
Their story is a classic love story.
It's full of twists and turns.
And their son Jacob.
Jacob.
He's a bit of a trickster.
He is. He's a trickster. He even has this vivid dream of a ladder
stretching from earth to heaven,
with angels
ascending and descending.
It's amazing imagery.
Jacob's story is fascinating because it highlights this idea of transformation.
Transformation.
He starts out as this cunning figure willing to deceive his own brother.
To get ahead.
To get what he wants.
To get what he wants.
He even has
two wives,
Leah and Rachel.
And ends up fathering
12 sons.
Who become
the 12 tribes of Israel.
It's like his story sets the stage
for the entire future
of the Israelite nation.
It's amazing how those family dynamics play out on such a grand scale. But what I find so powerful
is that moment
when Jacob wrestles with God and is renamed Israel.
Meaning he who wrestles with God.
That's a huge turning point in his life.
It's about struggling with faith.
Confronting our own flaws.
Recognizing that even imperfect people
can be part of God's larger plan. And speaking of flawed people and grand plans, we can't forget Joseph.
Oh, yeah.
From the pit to the palace.
What a roller coaster.
Talk about a roller coaster ride. You've got betrayal, resilience, and ultimately forgiveness.
Where do we even begin?
I know, right?
Well, Joseph's story starts with him as this young man clearly favored by his father.
Having these vivid dreams.
That suggests he's destined for greatness. And, of course, these dreams don't sit well.
With his brothers.
Jealousy, betrayal, being sold into slavery. It's a story that pulls you in right from the start.
It really does.
What I find so inspiring is how Joseph never gives up hope.
He just keeps going.
He faces these incredibly difficult circumstances with such resilience and resourcefulness and unwavering faith.
His story truly embodies that idea that even in the darkest moments,
we can find a way to rise above
our circumstances.
He's thrown into a pit, sold to traders, taken to Egypt, falsely accused and imprisoned.
Yet, in each situation,
he finds a way to make a difference, using his gifts to help others.
Like when he interprets the dreams of his fellow prisoners.
In Egypt.
And then ultimately Pharaoh's dreams saving Egypt from famine.
It's amazing how his ability to interpret dreams becomes the key to his own survival and the well-being of an entire nation.
This story really highlights the idea of divine providence.
The sense that God is working behind the scenes.
Even in the midst of suffering and injustice.
Joseph's journey isn't just about overcoming adversity.
It's about how God can use even the most difficult experiences
for a greater purpose.
And that
reunion, they come to Egypt desperate for food, with no idea they're dealing with the brother they betrayed all those years ago.
It's got to be so intense.
I can only imagine.
The shock.
The guilt.
The fear.
It's a powerful moment of confrontation.
But also a profound moment of reconciliation.
And forgiveness.
Joseph chooses not to seek revenge.
He sees the bigger picture.
He understands that God used even their betrayal to bring about this good outcome.
This idea of forgiveness is so powerful.
It reminds us that we always have a choice to hold on to bitterness or to embrace forgiveness and move forward.
Joseph's story shows us that even in the face of immense hurt, forgiveness can lead to healing.
And reconciliation.
Exactly. And it underscores that idea that family bonds, even when broken, can be incredibly powerful.
So as we reflect on the book of Genesis,
we've journeyed from the creation of the universe to the dramatic lives of these patriarchs. We've encountered these profound themes of creation, sin, covenant, faith, challenging family dynamics.
The idea of divine providence.
All packed into one book.
It's incredible.
It's mind-blowing how much ground Genesis covers and how relevant these themes still are to our lives today.
Thousands of years later.
It's a testament to the enduring power of these stories.
They offer us insights into the human condition, our relationship with the divine, and our search for meaning.
And purpose in the world.
It's like these stories written so long ago still have this incredible ability to challenge us, inspire us.
And make us think about our own lives.
And choices.
And make us think about our own lives and choices. It really is remarkable how these ancient stories still resonate with us across time and cultures. They grapple with these big questions about humanity, our relationship with the divine, and the search for meaning that I think we all wrestle with in some way.
And what's striking is that the characters in these stories are far from perfect. They're flawed, they make mistakes, they experience suffering and loss just like we do. But they also show resilience, compassion, and the capacity for growth and transformation. It's like their stories offers a sense of hope.
Yeah.
And remind us that we're not alone in our struggles.
Absolutely.
So for someone who's new to the Bible, what do you think are the key takeaways from Genesis? What would be your elevator pitch for this book?
I'd say Genesis introduces us to that grand narrative of the Bible, the story of God's relationship with humanity. It's a story that begins with creation, this picture of perfect harmony, and then explores the consequences of human choices, the reality of sin and disobedience. But ultimately, it's a story of hope and redemption, of covenants and promises. It's about flawed individuals being chosen and used by God for a greater purpose. And it's all told through these incredibly vivid and engaging stories that have captivated readers for centuries. It's like Genesis lays the groundwork for understanding not just the rest of the Bible, but also so many of the big questions that we still grapple with as human beings. Where do we come from? What's our purpose? What does it mean to live a good life? How do we relate to something bigger than ourselves?
I think that's a great point. Genesis provides a framework for understanding concepts like creation, sin redemption, justice, mercy, and the power of faith concepts that has shaped Western thought and culture in really profound ways.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Genesis, I'm curious, what stood out to you most, dear listener? Was it the grandeur of creation, the drama of Adam and Eve's choice in the garden, the intense family dynamics of the patriarchs? What resonated with you on a personal level?
I'd encourage you to think about which stories or characters sparked your curiosity or challenged your assumptions. What questions did Genesis raise for you, and how might these stories shape your understanding as you continue to explore the Bible?
Because here's a final thought-provoking question to leave you with. If Genesis is the foundation of the Bible, how do these early stories shape our understanding of everything that comes after? How do they influence our interpretation of the prophets, the teachings of Jesus, or the letters of Paul?
It's a question worth pondering as you delve deeper into the scriptures. Genesis isn't just a starting point. It's a key that unlocks a deeper understanding of the entire biblical narrative and offers a lens through which we can view the world around us.
So keep those questions in mind, dear listener, as you continue your own exploration of the Bible. And who knows, maybe we'll revisit some of these things and characters in future deep dives. Until then, happy reading.